Welcome, Gunrunner.
Hello everybody, Kieran aka The Laird here, and I'm back with another free gaming magazine review, because I've done a few of these recently, including Retro Gaming World and PC Engine Gamer magazine, and both of them ended up going down really well, especially the PC Engine Gamer one actually. And I had a lot of people asking about what other free magazines there were out there, so I have been keeping a lookout for any others that I could bring your attention to that you might not have seen and you might want to see. And I was chatting to an old friend of mine on Facebook the other day, who I've known about 20 odd years probably, from the kind of retro gaming scene, but he's over in America, so shout out to Jason at this moment. And he reminded me of Classic Gamer magazine because he used to write for them, and I can actually remember because I wrote for a website with him, and he said that he was going to get me on board with the magazine, and then they actually stopped making new issues, so it all went to pot a bit. But it turns out that a lot of those Classic Gamer issues are now on archive.org, as I've discovered, because he'd been looking for them to remind himself of some of the stuff that was in them, and he found them. So as you can see here, there's 10 issues there, and it tells you a little bit about Classic Gamer magazine, because I'm sure most people won't know anything about it because it's quite an old magazine, as I'll go into in a moment. And it was an American magazine, so whereas over here we had Retro Gamer magazine, in America they had Classic Gamer magazine. So it says there, Classic Gamer magazine was printed and was a digital publication covering classic gaming. Volume 1 of the magazine contained 6 issues and was released in printed format. Volume 2 contained 2 PDF issues which were released for free in 2004 via the website. Since there have been no further issues, so the website has for some time promised a new PDF is on its way. And to go back to that for the moment, I couldn't find the website, but I did find they had a Facebook page, as you can see here. So that still does exist, and it still seems to be that they post every now and again, but not anything particularly exciting. They just seem to share the odd article from time to time, as you can see. And there's a very brief description there. It just said it was founded in 1999 and created in the spirit of the legendary Electronic GA, which I assume is supposed to be Electronic Games magazine, because I remember that being their thing, that it was based on the classic US magazine Electronic Games, which was one of the first kind of gaming magazines anywhere in the world, really. But we'll go back to archive.org in moments. You'll see there we've got some of the first volumes. There's 4, 7, 2. No, 4 and 7, sorry. They're from volume 1, 5 from volume 1, 2, 1, 3. So most of the ones from volume 1 there, actually. And volume 2, there we go. There's there and there. So we'll have a look at some of those in a moment. Won't have a look at all of them, but that'll take a while to go through 10 issues, and I don't like to look at everything. It kind of spoils it a little bit. But yeah, we'll flip over to those and we'll have a look at an issue. So here we are, Classic Gamer magazine, fall 1999. So God, this is like 23 years old now, this magazine, pretty much, considering we're going into autumn, as we call it in the UK now. So obviously this is going to be pretty basic in terms of things like the layout and how it looks compared to modern magazines, because this is very much the early days of making magazines on PCs. Now you can do all sorts of fancy effects and stuff. Back then it was a bit more basic. But yeah, we'll have a look through anyway. So, bit about it. A quote from Nolan Bushnell. So there's our contents. It says lots of the people who worked on it. So Chris Kavanagh was editor-in-chief, associate editor Sarah Thomas, and then it's got a list of all the people who contributed to it. And actually, through its life, there were some pretty cool people who did actually contribute to the magazine. So, for example, I know Leonard Herman, he of the Phoenix books fame, very noted American game historian. I know he wrote some stuff for them, for example. So there you go. There's a big bit about it, saying about, you know, in the 80s he read Electronic Games magazine, and that's what he's trying to emulate with this. So we'll have a little look through anyway. So news, that's obviously going to be pretty out of date. Jaguar news. Hasbro sets Jaguar free. That shows you how old this is when they're talking about stuff like that. I know they did some stuff with Cole Forhan actually of Songbird, so it's not surprised to see them get mentioned. But there you go, there's a bit actually mentioning Leonard Herman's book Phoenix, as I was just saying, so that's in there. There's some classic adverts in there as well. A look at the 5200, Warp and Warp, so reviews, Donkey Kong and Dreadnought Factor, Combat, Gorf, River Raid. There's lots of reviews here. E3 special report. Activision article on pinball games, which is pretty cool actually. ColecoVisions. Cosmic Avenger, I like that game. Cosmic Avenger is good. Reader poll. Subscribe. Spooky stuff for Halloween, which is cool. And that's it. That first issue was 52 pages. Okay, so now we're at Spring 2000 issue 3. I've skipped an issue ahead. Covered by Michael Thomason, which is cool to see, so he's quite still involved in the scene. I've spoken for him from time to time over the years. History of Spider-Man video games. So very different cover, this one actually, more artistic, a lot less basic. So we go through. There's a nice quote there from good old Howard Scott Warshaw. So there's our contents again, and editor's bits and classic advert there. There's our news, which is again amusing seeing there about Battlesphere. Classic prototype news, so found Garfield. New Atari games like Gallagher Returns. Ooh, new Pac-Man game, so all sorts of stuff there. Article about Blue Shark. I was doing that, covered that in a video fairly recently actually. Well, jungle-based games, Treasure Hunt. That's cool, it's a gauntlet and the such like. It's a bit some unreleased games as well. Raiders of the Lost Ark. There's an advert for Good Deal Games, still going. Great to see. Article about Earl Green, which is nice to see. He's still around as well, doing stuff as well. There you go, cool Spider-Man article. The 2600 game, which I had when I was a kid, the very, very first Marvel game. Cool little game as well. Classic gaming on the World Wide Web. Different websites you can visit. I bet not one of them exists anymore. Be interesting to actually go through and put them all in, wouldn't it? I bet none of them exist. So that's 60 pages. That's similar to the first issue. Okay, so now we've got Fall 2000 issue 5. So 22 years old. Kind of montage like cover with all sorts of different stuff on it. We've got Sonic in there. We've got a Zonox double ender. We've got Hangman on Atari. So very strange mix of things on the cover there. Wishing people happy Christmas. The usual intros and what's going to be in it. This stood out to me actually here. There's Roland's Rat Race, which of course was an ocean game for the Commodore 64 from the UK. Unless you're from the UK, you probably don't have a clue who Roland Rat is. So that stood out to me actually to see that there, because Because, yeah, a lot of Americans wouldn't have had a clue what that was all about. So, Atari acquired by Infogrames. Interesting. It seems that's so long ago now. I suppose it was long ago. So there we go. There's a nice article by Leonard Herman. Always brilliant. Games we love to hate. Yeah, some interesting choices there, actually. Bobby's Going Home. That's quite a good game, though. Good old Bobby's Going Home. Underrated, I feel. Earl Green's X Games. Are these 2600 games unplayable? Double Dragon's not unplayable. Double Dragon's a great game. Messed up screenshot, which means you're using a power ROM and NTSC, but I don't know why they've got that. Ghostbusters 2 is playable, it's just rubbish. Karate is definitely a completely terrible game, so I agree with that one. But I love Double Dragon on the 2600. I bought it in '89 and managed to complete it eventually as well. So there we go. So there's a bit about Ronan's Rat Race. So very cool to see kind of more UK centric thing in there. Very cool. Advert for Songbird there with Remnant Planar Wars for the Lynx and Skyhammer for the Jaguar. Good deal games. So Odyssey 2 stuff. That's nice to see there. Some homebrew stuff. Very early homebrew from beginning of 2000s. Come a long way, the homebrew scene, that's for sure. Classic advert. Paying top prices, so what to expect to pay for 2600 there in television and ColecoVision. I dare to say that those a lot of those prices have gone up. That's for sure. Dragon Slayer Space Ace. Stuff about Tapper. Classifieds. Talking about Classic Gaming Expo. And there's another advert for Game Source at the back there. So that's it. That's for Game Source at the back there. So that's it. Right, so now we've got Summer 2001, issue 7. So again, a rather mixed cover with all sorts of random images, but they do all seem to be Atari 2600 related. So there is some sort of theme there, unlike that other one we looked at, which was just sort of kind of all over the place. It goes straight into it. There's no editorial page or anything. It's just gone straight into the magazine. Look, straight into baseball and stuff. That's really strange not to have any kind of contents page or editorial page or anything like that. How strange. Cuba, and actually that's it. My God, it's literally just a pamphlet. I'm guessing that's what it wasn't in print anymore, but I mean that says US $4.99. That's very strange, unless a big chunk of it's missing. Because let's face it, you wouldn't pay $4.99 for that, would you? So here we are now. We've got moved to volume 2. So volume 2, issue 1, and now it just says free because this is when it was in PDF form. So this is when they kind of change their concept, different logo. So again, we'll go through it. So this just starts off with an advert and a price list like we saw in one of the others for Atari2600.com. This one does have a contents and an editorial. So yeah, it's back to being normal again there. News roundup and stuff like that. So this is back to very much what we saw with the earlier issues in terms of what we're seeing contents wise. Like Laser Blast. I had that one as a kid and I loved it at first, but it got boring really, really quickly. Bejeweled for ColecoVision. That's cool to see. Don't think I've ever played that version. I must play it because I really like Bejeweled. Kickman. Stuff about MAME. Mario. Sports games. Advert for Digital Press, which of course is still around. We're mentioning one of the other ones. How I bet none of the websites are still around, but that one is still around. Play Like an Egyptian. So that's our Midway Arcade Treasures. Games of Fame, good deal games there. Looking for back issues, there we go. You can buy them on a CD-ROM for $10. Awesome. There we go, and that one was 48 pages, so the page count had gone down quite a bit there from the earlier issues, and the move from print to PDF. Okay, and this is the last one that I've got. So this is Volume 3, Issue 1. But what struck me about this one was that it looks much more like a modern magazine in terms of the cover, the fonts used and stuff. It looks more like something like Retro Gamers. You've got Atari, Nintendo, Sega, all that, along the top, like you have with Retro Gamers as well. So that struck me that it looks much more modern than the other issues. This goes into a much simpler layout as well in terms of the contents page and stuff like that. It says it's free and says if you want to donate and all that stuff. So goes looking at Classic Game Expo 2010. So, this issue's a lot later then. So this is an issue that they made years later then, it looks like. No wonder it's so different in the terms of the way it looks. So SNES versus Mega Drive. I'm not calling it Genesis. I'm not American. As I always say, a lot of Americans don't seem to realise that they were the only ones, well, Americans and Canadians, who called it Genesis. The rest of the world called it Mega Drive. It's the Mega Drive. That's what it's called in Japan and Europe and Asia and Australasia and Africa and South America and all those places. So an article on Pac-Man there, which is cool to see as well. All the different versions. Shovelware Alert, Pixel Memories. So arcades and stuff that are now long gone. The new Haunted House, that's the Wii version. I've got that somewhere actually. I thought that was alright, that. Quite enjoyed it. My son really liked it when he was young as well. 56 pages on that one. So article on Scott Pilgrim should mention that. Very cool game that was. And that's it really. There's not much more to show you. There's more issues I could show you, but there's no point really. You've got a feel for it. So, it's quite basic in terms of its layout and stuff. And obviously stuff like the news and all those kind of things are going to be completely out of date and all that. But it's nice to look back and remember those really early days of retro game collecting and the community. It was very, very different back then. It hadn't, become mainstream. It was a very nerdy and niche hobby. I mean, look how mainstream retro gaming is now. It's crazy, with all the minis and stuff coming out, and you see it mentioned on TV and films and all sorts of things, now. But back then, there was these very small communities of us kind of doing it. I mean, I got into retro gaming, admittedly, probably later than some other people, because it was 2003 when I got into it, when I came back from living abroad, and I needed a hobby, and I'd already discovered that there was this whole kind of community springing up, and I started by buying some of my old machines. I got one of the first ones I bought was a Spectrum, and I bought an Atari 7800 because I never had a 7800 and I really wanted one. So they were the first two that I bought, and it kind of went from there. And I still had some of my original machines as well. I still had my original Lynx Jaguar and stuff. So looking back at a mag from 2004 is very memorable, because I can remember, the excitement of those days and seeing the first homebrew games coming out and stuff like that, and very different time, less commercial certainly than it is now. So there's some great articles there to enjoy. It is a bit of a time capsule, very different to the time capsule of looking back to a magazine from our youth. Very different period. I don't think there is really many other magazines from this kind of period apart from the early issues of Retro Gamer in the UK. So certainly from an American perspective, I don't think there is anything else. It's really, really cool to see it there. So if you're interested, head over to archive.org to download these issues for free. They're all public domain. They've been put out there for people to enjoy. So there's no legalities there. I'll put a link in the comments, the description as always, for anyone who wants to go and do that. I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy my look at Classic Gaming Magazine. I've been the Laird, and I'll see you again all again.